initiative called Studio Lab XR that I'm going to get into. I'm going to try and take as little time on the mic as possible because I really want to give Arnaud here the chance to talk about his incredible body of work, working on some of the some projects for some of the biggest brands in the world, for some very impressive cultural institutions. So he's got a lot to say and a lot of slides to get through. So I'll try and be as brief as possible. I'm here to give an update on Studio Lab XR, which is a workforce development initiative of New Media Manitoba's. For those of you who were at Hyper last year, you would have heard me kind of talk about the idea of what we were planning then. I'm happy to say that we've made a tremendous amount of progress in the last year, and I have some exciting news to share. For those of you who weren't here or haven't heard me kind of ramble on about the project, it's actually really interesting and really neat. It is a 6,000 square foot facility dedicated for training in immersive and XR technologies. We have some really unique technologies in the province and some incredible expertise that we've managed to amass. And we're so excited to formally open our doors and begin doing the work that we wanted to do, which is training and basically providing an opportunity for Manitobans to get their hands on these technologies that are oftentimes very cost prohibitive and start making things, whether they be tools or creative projects. We just want to create a very unique learning opportunity for Manitobans. This is kind of one of the things that kind of started the ball rolling. We did a lot of consultation with industry about the needs for a space like this, and Les Clausen from Flipside gave me this little blurb when we had a very long rambling conversation, and I think it's really true. We've kind of moved to this point now where training and technology needs to be in a space, a physical space. So that was kind of the genesis for this project. In trying to create a facility where Manitobans can come together and learn this stuff collectively. We were lucky enough to get some funding from both the federal and provincial government for this project, which allowed us to put the technology and human resources in place. And this is kind of the very quick Coles notes of what the facility was envisioned to contain. Virtual production, LED wall that was 3D tracked, a whole bunch of high performance workstations for some of the work that we were doing with Unreal Engine, motion capture suits, facial capture rigs, and most importantly, in what I've learned, is human resources. All this technology is great, but if there's no one there to kind of help and guide and go through the process of learning, it's kind of just technology. That's what we had envisioned about a year and a half ago for the project. While things were being physically built, we kept very busy kind of developing our internal resources. And we would do this with Unreal training at our current space at 62 Albert. So we would run sessions with outside experts and local experts on topics kind of related to the work that we wanted to do. This is an Unreal Engine class. We've brought in international experts. This was the Kiro Poon that we did a joint event with Flipside XR. So we were bringing kind of that outside expertise and kind of what's happening in other markets around XR. And we worked really hard with our industry partners, including Epic Games, to get that knowledge that we needed to do this stuff properly. A lot of these technologies kind of really hinge on Unreal Engine, so we went very hard on training. We went very hard on getting our instructors the sort of expertise that they needed to disseminate this. And you can kind of see from the map, this was a big deal for me personally, in that it was really hard, and it really speaks to how hard our instructors worked to get this designation, because it was really challenging. And you can see from the map that we basically got the whole Midwest to ourselves. So Studio Lab XR is an Unreal authorized training center, and we're really proud of that achievement, and we hope that we can bring that knowledge to participants who come to the lab. side, but on the practical side of how do we take a space and reimagine it. As you know, this is a struggle that's happening in a lot of North American cities. How can we take something that was once something like a bank, in this case, and turn it into something else? So while all this training and engagements events were happening, we were working, contractors were working on transforming an old Toronto Dominion space at 201 Portage into something that would kind of work for our needs. This was a very slow and exhaustive process. There's a lot of components that are really hard to source, apparently, during a pandemic, like mirror handlers and ducts and electrical things. So it was a real eye-opener for how long these things actually take for me. But we were lucky to be able to do other things while all this was happening in the background. And finally, we got to the point where, okay, we can pack up the LED screens and we can take them down and install them, and we can get all our technology in place, get things like desks and internet in it. So I'm really happy to announce that about 3 weeks ago, we kind of took ownership of the space, and last week we ran our very, very first training session at, as far as I know, the only LED camera track wall in the province. So we had people from all sorts of different disciplines, post-secondary, academia, and industry, come to a real deep dive on how this technology works. And, you know, on the base layer, it looks like a giant screen. I can assure you there's a lot more behind that screen making everything work. Processors, servers, networking, cameras. It's really interesting how many different kind of disciplines intersect here. And yeah, we did it. We got it. We got an Unreal scene up on a wall, and it's camera track. And we are so excited to start doing more training, doing production, and hopefully making this space a resource for companies and for productions to start expanding their kind of creative palette of what's possible. One of the amazing things about virtual production, as Copilot kind of mentioned earlier, is the ability to have kind of any location at your fingertips. We think this opens up a lot of really interesting creative opportunities and a lot of technical opportunities for people who want to make tools and other kind of things to make this process more efficient. So during this last year, I mean, there's a lot of time for introspection on projects, as you probably all know, and I certainly did a lot of soul searching about like, why this is so much work and it's so hard. Why do I care? Like, why am I doing this? Why do I care? Why do we all at Manitoba care so much about this stuff? And I'm just going to speak from my perspective about why I continue, despite all the challenges, to be really encouraged and excited about kind of what's coming next. And this is the kind of a quote that I kind of look back at sometimes. And I think this is true like across the XR space. We're all kind of like looking for that moment of wonder. We're chasing it. We want to be able to see it. And there's something about that when we achieve it, we want to get it again. It is kind of a little bit like a high, and then we keep wanting to replicate that feeling that we get from seeing something for the first time or experiencing the world in a slightly different perspective. And that's what kind of gets me so excited about the training facility. And it kind of links back to like all these moments that we have, right? Of like sitting in a darkened cinema, if you're a person my age, and seeing the flicker of light and being transported into a different world. And I think for probably everyone in this room, the thing that we think about as soon as we feel that, we see it, we have an itch like, how did that happen? How did they do that? How did that magic trick work? And want to replicate it ourselves. So, we've been doing this for, in some way, shape, or form. Well, the technology is new, the ideas aren't, right? We want to create these visions that are in our head, and something that's done over 100 years ago is not too far removed from what we're doing in 2023. Like, while the tools are better and the fidelity is better, the intent is the same, and that kind of reassured me to feel like, okay, we still have stories that we want to tell. We still want to use technology in interesting ways, but we want to keep it. We want to keep that connection to our human experience in it. And so I was very boistered after that little bit of soul searching to think, okay, we're going to make despite the contractors being 2 weeks late speculate on something, eventually we're going to be able to do something really special with this space. And that's something special for me is collaborative learning or applied learning or project-based learning or whatever you want to call it. But it's that feeling of like being with your friends and looking at a treasure map or going out, on a weekend and making a movie with your friends. Like it's that same spirit of collaboration and mutual learning. And now we live in a world where we can, we can learn anything we want, whenever we want, on a computer or on YouTube. But there is a special transaction that happens when we're with each other. I think there's, a chaos element that gets introduced to the process that's really special. So this space is hopefully an area where that sort of exploration can happen, where people are not going to be bound by like the limits of their graphics card in learning Unreal, or like not having someone to ask a question, because we have great instructors, we have great people around the project. So that dovetails with some of our upcoming training. I'll just quickly blast through this. We have an introduction to Unreal Engine 5.3 by Matt, who is here. I don't know if he's in the room. This is a great jumping off point if you've heard about Unreal Engine and its possibilities, but you've never touched it before. This is the perfect jumping on place to learn how the program works and what it's capable of, and it can do some pretty amazing things. So I would highly encourage anyone who's looking to get into Unreal to check this workshop out. Oh, sorry, my fonts went kind of wonky here. We have some great training coming up with some studios out of Vancouver, including one with Beyond Capture, who's done some facial and motion capture for games like Mortal Kombat and some EA games. They've got one of the premier motion capture facilities in Vancouver. They're going to come in and do a session on Faceware, which is a facial capture system that has incredible fidelity, and on the Rococo Mark II suits, which are motion capture suits. So there's going to be a directing series, and there's going to be a data capture series as well too. And then we have a very big project that's going to be announced next week. It's in collaboration with On-Screen Manitoba, and it's going to see creative teams, working together on creating a project within our volume. It's going to have incredible mentorship out of Vancouver. The director for a couple episodes of Invincible Season 1 is going to be there. The director of photography from Rings of Power is going to be there. There's going to be some like really top-notch Hollywood level mentors available for this. But what's going to be really cool is taking a project from start to finish in virtual production that includes all the aspects of it, from set decoration to costuming to lighting to the technical end to the direction side of things. So stay tuned for information about that, because it's going to be a really unique offering, and it's going to be happening kind of in, I'm guessing, probably late January is when we're going to start doing that shooting. And I'll just kind of close things up with this great quote that I saw about these new tools and creating a new cinematic language. I think this is a really powerful opportunity to be in at the ground floor of something. There's not an established 20 years of hierarchy above you in this space. So oftentimes, if you're young, and I've certainly seen it, if you're young and ambitious and curious, you can go really far really quickly because there's not someone old and gray who's standing in your way. There's wide open spaces. So I hope that you can all reach out, and maybe we can start talking about projects and tours. You can reach out to me at any time to book that, or to chat with me after the session here. And I'll end here with a little bit of a homage to our next speaker, and just tell you a quick little personal story before I finish. When I was young, I always thought, I would read these stories about Gertrude Stein's salon in Paris in the 1920s, and how, these writers would come in and they'd talk and they'd collaborate, and, it was just this kind of really interesting space for ideas to be generated. And I thought one day, okay, maybe, it would be great to have a space like that. And so now I'm very earnest when I say I hope a Studio Lab XR could be a space in some capacities like that, where companies can get together with students and creative visions can be realized. And this is my one obligatory AI comment. I Googled what the salon looked like, and I'm like, oh, that image looks really bad. And then I put it into AI, and I'm like, okay, that looks a little bit better. So that's my one AI thing today. So this is where you can find information if you're curious about Studio Lab. I can always be reached. I should have put this on the slide, but my email address is John, J-O-N, @mediamanitoba.com. I love to talk, as many of you here in the room will probably know. I really love to help people and connect people. So please, 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 whether you're a student or whether you're a company, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'd love to collaborate. So next up, we have an incredible guest here for everyone. We were lucky enough to collaborate with the French consulate and bring in a guest speaker all the way from Paris, France, to join us here today. And I've had the pleasure of spending the last few days with Arnaud Desjardin, who is the CEO. The CEO of a studio called Femme Fatale, which, as I said, has done some really, really inspiring work that's just filled with elegance and with a lot of heart. And I can't wait to hear about some of the projects that they've worked on and a little bit more about their story.
Thank you, Jonathan. First of all, I would like to thank the French Embassy and Fabio for inviting me to discover the great community of Winnipeg. Maybe I will just... So my name is Arnaud Desjardin. I'm a creative director and co-founder of a French creative studio. That name is Femme Fatale. We are dedicated in immersive projects, in interactive audiovisual and immersive devices. And that's what our domain are: the virtual reality, augmented reality, museum installation, live performance, motion design, video mapping. It's more or less what we do, and web experiences as well. Also. So here are some pictures of and some moving pictures of projects. So it's really wide. It can be live performance, as you can see. It can be for brands, but mainly it's for cultural institutions, for museums, and for permanent exhibition. So yes, as I said, we mainly work for French and international museums. So, for example, le Louvre, la Gaîté Lyrique, la Villette, the French National Museum of Natural History. But also we work a lot with foreign museums. So, for example, we worked for Oman, the National Museum of Oman and the National Museum of Norway. And we work with TV channels, so a lot with French TV channels, but also for international like HBO. And in parallel, we work a lot for event agency and for luxury brands such as Christian Louboutin, Martel, the Cognac Martel, Dom Pérignon wine, Pandora, which is a jewelry brand. And the third activity in the studio is we are producer of immersive experience. So we try to find fundings and to write and direct our own experiences. Yes. so this is a pipeline for VR experience, but I'm not sure it's really interesting. It's really technical, so maybe I can talk just several minutes about the beginning of the studio. So me as art director, I come from web design. So you can see some pictures of my very early project. It was all about web, but we used a lot a tool named Flash, Macromedia Flash, and that disappeared now. But it was a time where the web could be very experiential. We could imagine crazy things that now don't exist anymore in the web. So a lot of 3D, a lot of animation. And when we started Femme Fatale, we were mainly dedicated on creating web experience. So, for example, one of our first project was for a TV channel, Arte TV. It's a French-German TV channel, and they wanted to make like a game about Jacques Tati, who is a very famous old-fashioned French filmmaker. And we used a lot of animation. It was not in Flash, it was in HTML5, but the spirit was the same. So we created a lot of animation just to introduce each movie and create like a mini game for each movie. And we worked on Peaky Blinders, TV show Peaky Blinders. We made a lot of illustration. We created a lot of infographic content to explain the TV show. And after that, more and more, we decided to focus on animation. So this was a TV series about old TV show, and that explains why it's interesting to watch Twin Peaks now, even if it's 20 years old. So we decided to use a lot of to make use of stop motion. And we did a lot of music video clip. For example, for Gotham Project, it's electronic tango band, very famous in France. A lot of opening for TV documentaries. So it was a very various style, very various project. So it was maybe, sometimes it was hand-drawn, sometimes it was full 3D. But at one point, I think we lack of, we made so much things very different that it was difficult for us to be clearly visible as an expert in one domain. So it was for another French music band, really famous, but not in Canada, I think. Yes. And since 2018, we began to work on museum display. So this was because we come from the web and we liked animation, so it was really interesting for us to mix all this kind of expertise in one thing, and it was interesting for us to go to this kind of display, because you make mini game for children, you make video mapping, you do a lot of stuff, always dedicated to cultural content, but very, very various. Now I will focus more in immersive projects. So how a little studio dedicated on web experience and animation go through immersive. We were approached in 2016 at the beginning of the studio to work on a VR experience that was not supposed to be a VR experience at the beginning. It was supposed to be a mobile experience, but the producer had the idea of the VR headset. So the brief was to make people feel the way a blind person perceives the world in an immersive sensory experience. So I tried to create an art direction that was really simple, because that was supposed to work on mobile that were put in VR headsets. That was the early beginning of VR. And so we didn't add a lot of power. And I tried to stay abstract, because so just maybe I can show you the trailer. Yes. So that was before the Quest and etc. You put your phone inside a VR. And so this is the story of John Hull. He wrote several books about the fact that he became blind, and this was a story about his story. And so the idea is that the scenery around you is totally black, and when you hear something, it appears to your eyes. And there was a very strong narration about that. Yeah. So we did the art direction of the project, and it was produced by Arnaud Desjardin, a French producer, in co-production with English Society. So that was my first contact. So Not So Layers was my first contact with VR, and I became aware that we were able to give information to people, but also to transport people into virtual space and to give them some emotion, and it was really interesting. Maybe another project of the studio is about an immersive exhibition about Mona Lisa that was organized by, that was produced by Le Louvre and Le Grand Palais in France. So these were more traditional stuff. It's about video mapping and motion design and interactive displays. So you have a very big, gigantic landscape all around the exhibition, and it shows little details of the landscape of the Mona Lisa painting, and you can touch and interact with the landscape. Yeah. So this video footage are some of motion that we did for the idea was to dive into the painting, to show what you can't see with your own eyes, and to show the landscape behind the Mona Lisa, to show the different layers of the painting. So So the idea behind this exhibition was to clearly show what you can't see when you see Mona Lisa, because Mona Lisa in Paris now, in the Louvre, it's impossible to see. You have to queue, you have to fight with all the tourists, and this exhibition was created just to have another point of view on the painting. Yeah. So some pictures of the. Yes. So it's about Duchampiana is a VR experience. I'm sorry, it's not really well ordered. Is a VR experience that's still in development. It's art installation. The idea is to climb a staircase, an infinite staircase, walking among the clouds. And this is an art experience that is inspired from the painting of Marcel Duchamp, Le Nu descendant l'escalier, the new descending staircase. So Marcel Duchamp is very famous for his ready-made sculpture. And the idea is to physically climb a real mechanical staircase, and in your headset you are also climbing a staircase, but infinite. So this is an early prototype, just to, like a proof of concept, to explain the idea and to get fundings for that. So it seems dangerous as an experience, but it works. we have no dead people for them. Yeah. It shows the recognition of the feet to advance in the experience. And this is some test, technical test you can see. And now the experience, yes. So in the experience, you not only climb staircase, but you meet some creatures, and that are inspired by the painting of Marcel Duchamp, and that are really cubist design. So this is Duchampiana. This is the hero of the experience. You have our little sisters. You have other creatures that are inside. And now it's more or less look like that. So this is the final rendering, but it's still in development. So I think it will be finished in maybe in 6 months. I think. Yeah. So this is a French-German co-production. It has been funded by French government and German government, and it's really artistic installation. It's not dedicated to educational purpose, but really artistic. Yeah. We do also live performance. So, for example, this project is named Jupiter. And it's a musical performance. We play with sound. So we have a DJ, and he kind of mix our creation. So the idea that there was 7 studios that were 8 studios that were invited for 8 parties. And each party was the name of a planet. So our planet was Jupiter. And you can see it was inside the location of the Joconde Immersive that I showed you before. And you have a DJ that played with our. So it was made in Unreal, yes, I don't remember. Yes, and it was with with a software that enable to play with with sound. Okay. Another live performance that we did is Color Sin Nombre. This is a show that mix flamenco and paintings of Marc Rothko. So the idea is because Marc Rothko, so it's a very famous American painter, and he was really inspired by mythology. And he always said that his painting were like a gate to landscape, to imaginary landscape. So we decided to dive into a painting of Marc Rothko, and there is a very famous dancer, José Maya, that play with projection and with that dance with music. And now he's touring in United States with this show. So some pictures, the chapel of Marc Rothko. And in parallel, like I said, we work for luxury brands and event agency. Maybe I will talk more about this relation between cultural stuff and luxury brand. But it was for the Fashion Week in January. The main Fashion Week, and we did all the video mapping for the party, for all the night. Yeah. So the concept was we had just one keyword that was glam rock, like David Bowie style, and we did and we had to make 7 hours of party. So we made a lot of little loops, and after we had like a visual joker that display and play with our. The Art of Darkness is an immersive exhibition produced by Gédéon Programme, that is a very big TV documentary producer. It's an immersive exhibition. The idea is to rediscover the magic of cave paintings, but with projection on wall. So there are some pictures. It's still in development, so I don't have a lot of video footage or anything like that. But the idea is to make people dive into the nature of and the fauna, the flora of when these caves were painted, and to more and more dive into the wall and to discover, thanks to interactivity, the painting as they were discovered by the people that discovered them in the early 20th century. So it's a very playful exhibition. The idea is to have keys to understand why these cavemen painted, and how did what were their tools, etc. And so we use technology. It's another studio in France based in Lyon that enables to have interaction with multiple visitors. So it's really interesting because it mixes video mapping and interaction on the walls and on the floor, of course, with Kinect. Broken City is one of our last projects. We were approached by the International Red Cross, and they wanted to have a testimony of buildings, of cities that were in war, at war, thanks to photogrammetry. So we did not do the photogrammetry because we collaborated with another studio that is mainly dedicated on that, and we recreated, thanks to the photogrammetry, three buildings, three iconic buildings of three cities. So we have Alep, we have Gaza, and we have I don't remember, sorry, but you will see that. So for the moment, this is a web experience. So it's a website you can access Alep, Mosul, and Gaza. Yes, and the idea behind is to create another version of this work, thanks to an immersive exhibition that will be displayed in several places all around the world. Yes, but now the idea is to scroll and to discover the story of the people that lived here with the pictures and the 3D assets provided by the studio. Yeah. We are producer on this one is a VR game because we never do that. So why not trying why not having a try about that? So this is the idea is to, because I was still I'm still convinced that dreams and VR are really have a lot of things in common, because this is when you dream, you stay in your bed, but your mind go in fantastic worlds, and it's more or less the same thing in VR. You stay where you are, but you can visit amazing places. So I wanted to make a parallel between dreams and VR, and I'm very fond of this comic book whose name is Little Nemo in Slumberland. This is one of the first comic book in the world. It was created in 1995. And it tells the story of a little boy, Nemo, that travels in his own dreams, and he has amazing adventures. So we had the chance to have some fundings from French government and from area in France, and it's just the beginning of the project. So it was just a way to find some co-producer. So now we have a co-producer that is more expert in game design, and we will take care of in Femme Fatale. We will take care of the art directions, the story, and the other big studio will do the fabrication of the project. So here are some early concept arts about that. We want to play with everything that can offer the VR. For example, the change of scale, the change of perspective. So I think VR have a full potential of create very amazing experience that play with senses of people. And now I will talk about Dream Builder. So it will be the last project that I will talk about. So this is our first project that were produced in-house, and so we had no experience in producing, in looking for funding, so it was a really important project for us. So when we wanted to create our first in-house project, we knew that we wanted it to be a VR experience, but we wanted to find a theme, a topic that was mainly where VR could be really interesting, and we thought that architecture was really interesting because you can have the scale one. I think there is no other medium that enabled that. But we didn't only want to create projects about architecture. We wanted to highlight immaterial heritage. So monuments that were never built, that where you can't enter, and now thanks to VR you can. So just the little pitch of it's supposed to be a collection. So imagine a gigantic elephant in the place of Arc de Triomphe in Paris. A monumental sphere dedicated to Isaac Newton, the scientist Isaac Newton. City above Paris. History is full of monuments that never existed, and because of several reasons. And these buildings remain as drawings. That's why we call them paper architecture. And so the idea was to create a VR collection about architectural utopia, and to propose a documentary and poetic journey in VR. So the first episode is about the cenotaph for Newton. So we managed to have funding from CNC, that is the national institution, and the city of Paris. So this was supposed to. So Etienne Boulet is just to be very short. Was the most famous architect of his time, but he never built something. He was just a teacher, and a theoretician of architecture. And when he was a child, he wanted to be a painter, but his parents didn't want. So he became an architect, but he was not interested at all at building for real his building. He was just more about the gesture and the ideal that he wanted to. So here is a trailer of the experience. Supposed to have music, but it doesn't. So yes, so for you can see some pictures, some drawings of Etienne Boulet. You can notice that it's very, very powerful. There is a very brilliant use of light and shadow, and it was a real. It was really challenging to have try to translate this kind of powerfulness. We tried. I don't know if we managed, but we tried. The idea was not to be really realistic, but to keep the style of Etienne Boulet. We didn't want to have the feeling of being in front of a true building, but we wanted to keep the ideal dimension of the building. So you can see some little tiny details of the drawing, and yes, and in the drawing you don't have the landscape, so we had to imagine what we could do, and so we decided to have like a French garden, with very geometrical, because it was logical to have stuff like that. And we didn't have the inside of the monument, so what we did, we tried to find other drawings of Etienne Boulet, just to be sure that we stay in the same aesthetical of the artist, but we had to invent some stuff, and we assume that. So this is inside the dome, and the idea of so maybe I didn't explain the monument. So the cenotaph for Newton is a funerary monument dedicated to Isaac Newton. And what is the word of cenotaph? The cenotaph is a funerary monument, but without any corpse inside. So, Etienne Boulet didn't draw the inside of the cenotaph, but he wrote about it. So he left some clues about that he wanted like a temple around the sphere. And he wanted to have like a sky with little tiny holes on the roof, on the top of the building. And why little holes? He wanted to keep the building in the. So it's not easy to explain in English, but the idea is because Isaac Newton is the father of telescope, of physical, of modern physics, and he wanted to that his mind was to be surrounded by the cosmos. Was the idea. So that's why in at the end. At the end of the experience, you go into the stars. Yeah. The idea is not to stay in the monument, but to travel into the dream of Etienne Boulet and into the dream of Isaac Newton. So why did we choose the cenotaph for Newton, and why that this monument is truly utopian? Because at this time, just before the French Revolution, architecture was only dedicated to a king or a god. There was no other purpose for architecture, and this was one of the first time in art history when an architect decided to make to imagine a building for a scientist. For him, science was was above the human power or the religion, and for us, me, the cenotaph is a true symbol of enlightenment utopia, the utopia of progress, of knowledge. And that's why that's what we try to explain in this experience. So you can see some screen capture of the 3D. It's really simple because it's supposed to work on devices that are not big PC. Yes. So yes, so this is a collection. We are working on another episode. So the second one is about name is called the Spatial City. It's about utopia imagined by Yona Friedman in the middle of 20th century. And his idea was to create glass habitation above the habitation. And it's really interesting. Maybe I won't go inside the topics, but it makes a lot of very interesting thought about that. So this is like a prototype that we did. We would like to make another episode on the Metropolis of Tomorrow by Hugh Ferris. That was Hugh Ferris was a very well-known drawer in the early century, 20th century, and for him, he was an American. He lived in New York, and for him, his idea was that United States has no historical patrimony, and the only patrimony is about heritage, is about the landscapes. And he wanted to create modern landscape through skyscraper, and he wanted to have the same, to give the same feeling of scale, of gigantism with skyscraper. So that was his idea. Some of his, and yes, there are so many art. Piece of art to recreate and to give some clues about that, yeah. And many more, and that's it for me.
Would anyone like to give questions to Monsieur Arnaud or to Monsieur Gay? Any questions?
Will you be covering Levis Woods? He's my favorite architect. That's it.
Sorry, I didn't.
Will you be making experience covering architecture of Levis Woods? He's my favorite architect. I'm just curious, gotta say.
Est-ce que vous couvrir l'artiste?
What's the name of the artist? I'm sorry.
Levius Woods.
Levius Woods. No, but let's have a discussion about that after. With great pleasure. Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to thank you for sharing your magnificent work. It's totally a new spectrum for us in North America. It was a different taste. Thank you. And for the architectural works, for the parts that there's no data, for design data, that how the illustrator or architect was envisioning the other aspects of the building. How do you do that? Do you have a designer in your team, or you rely on artificial intelligence, or you guess, or I wondered that part of the design.
Yes, Yes, it's a good question. We didn't use AI because there was no tool like that when we began the project. But I think because when we started the project, it was I think the most common question is how will you manage to represent what the artist didn't do? And the answer is that we try to give the feeling of we don't pretend to be really mathematical and really scientific in our approach. We try to respect the feeling of the artist, and after we assume a part of invention. It's an author vision of the artwork that are at the origin of the project. And how we do with that, it's a lot of feelings, you know. We just try to imagine, and we try to, as I show, we do a lot of research about the other project of the same artist to be the most respectful of his aesthetic and his way of thinking the architecture, but at one point it's more about our own feeling as a creator and artist. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. It was beautiful, beautiful work. I'm wondering how big your team is. How many people are in your team at Femme Fatale?
Well, it's a pretty small team. We are 6 in permanent in the studio. After we have freelancer depending on the kind of project. But for cultural, very in-house projects, we do all the stuff by ourselves because we are lucky enough in France to have money for this kind of project, but not enough to have enough money to hire a freelancer, because freelancers they are paid per day, and it's a really iterative way of creating this kind of project. It's not really scientist as a way of so we all the cultural and in-house projects are made in-house, and after for event agency, for luxury brands, we use freelancer because it's simpler. It's a simpler approach because we know exactly what we want and what we need, so it's easier.
Any other questions? Got it.
Hi.
Wonderful, by the way. Very beautiful. Particularly love the movies. So just quick question, would you say any of the project was particularly challenging, and why?
I think all the projects are challenging because they are always new for us, because and it's really difficult because people expect from us to have a schedule, to have a budget, and each time it's new for us because it can be technical, but it can be for creative reason, and so no, it's I think the most challenging is the last one, is Sonata for Newton, because we had the hat of producer, and so we did everything from the start to the end of the project, and usually we are more with command, you know. Some clients, or we have a competition and we answer and we win the pitch, and we do the project. But for Sonata for Newton, it was really challenging because we had to invent the project, we had to find fundings, we never did that before. So now it's easier because people know us, and even in terms of producing projects. But it was yes, it was challenging because you have to figure out all the aspects of the project, and I think that maybe the most difficult part of the project was after, when it was finished. What do we do of this project, and how to distribute, how to make people see your project. And I think we didn't expect it would be so difficult for them.
I have a question just about, I'm loud too. I have a question about just like your team makeup in terms of like programmers versus artists, or is it a lot of overlap? And also, is there, I saw you're using a lot of Unreal, but is there other
Yes.
core software you're using? Does it change per project a lot, or do you kind of have a suite of tools you're comfortable with that you use mostly?
No, I think the tool is always yes. We are really comfortable now with Unreal, so we like to work with what is comfortable for us. But for example, our last project that I didn't show because we don't have trailer, we don't have documentation about that. It's AR experience for museum, and it's about telling a story on the face of visitors, like a face filter. And we used the Snapchat tool, and it was the first time for us, and it was really challenging because Snapchat tool is not Lens Studio is not made for that. Is made for doing face filter, but really quick and really simple. And we add 5 minutes narration. So we show the prototype to Snapchat at the end, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they were really amazed that they didn't they were not even them were not aware that we could do narration with their tools. So I don't remember your question, but it was about tools and what do we prefer now. It's very simple. We are 6, so we have more or less three departments. Even if we are 6, we have the creative part. So I'm the creative director. I have a 3D artist with me to create the 3D asset with me. And after that, we have a technical director and Michel, who is one of my partners. And after, we have a creative technologist. That is who is more dedicated on visual by code, and after that we have a project manager and producer. Yeah.
I just had a question that just popped into my head as you were talking about the facial recognition project that you're going to be working on soon.
I'm sorry, could you speak slower, please?
No problem. Okay. Are you working with facial recognition in this project, did you say?
On what? Facial
recognition with the Snapchat.
Yes.
Okay.
Facial recognition, yes. It's not about ID or identity, but yes, he recognizes that there is a nose and eyes, and yes, but that's it.
Okay, the reason I was asking was whether or not, because you have your business or whoever is going to be using that project, does your company have to align with privacy regulations and EU stuff, and how is that negotiation? How do you negotiate that?
Yes, this is a really thank you. This is a really good question because we have this issue with this last project. So we used Lens Studio, so the tool of Snapchat, because it was more powerful in the market. but we are totally aware of the issue, and you have a lot of issues. You know, Snapchat is a private society. They already did that in the past, but they can just switch off the tool like that without anything because they own the tool. So if they decide it's not strategic for them, they can just and stop. So this is the first issue. The second issue is about privacy, and I totally agree with you on that. So that's why we are looking for it's a prototype, the experience, and now we try to get funding from French institution to make the same powerful tool in Unity to get rid of GAFAM and from Snapchat. But nowadays, you can have you can make AR face filter on Unity, but you don't have the tool. You know the tool where that is made only dedicated for that. You have to take some, and so we want to create this tool and to make him open source for every creator and to get rid of Snapchat. Yes.
One last quick question from Monsieur Desjardin. Speak loud.
Sorry, yes, it was too
Quieter than I think. Yeah. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfectly.
So my question was around the creative process that your team goes through.
Yes.
I was sort of noting with your Cenotaph project that it was very clear it was coming from like architectural imagery, but your Jupiter project seemed a lot more etheric, very beautiful imagery, like outer worldly imagery. And I was just wondering if there was a way you could speak to what creative process your team goes through to arrive at such beautiful things that you create in these 3D realities.
Yes, thank you for your question. For Jupiter, it was it was more a playground for us because it was a pleasure project. You know, we were paid, but not so much. In comparison with, for example, Louboutin or other projects. So we are like a white card. Is it understandable? Yeah. We could make everything we wanted on the project, but we had to respect the keyword that was Jupiter, and so we just look after the meaning of Jupiter. So Jupiter is a god, is a Roman god, so that's why we have a lot of statue of the Roman god. Is the equivalent of Zeus, so there is lighting, the lighting, and the storm also. And after Jupiter is a planet, so a planet full of gas and with a lot of storms and a lot of thunder. Equally. So with this kind of keywords, we managed to create all an universe, but it was really simple with some visual words to translate.
Okay. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Desjardins, for coming and giving us this awesome presentation with his projects. That'd be all for today. Ask him some questions while he's still here.
Yes.
And thank you for coming.
One last word. If you want, you can see the VR experience noted for Newton that is available on the VR cinema. Thank you.